It's a spooky wooky Halloween special on Deck Tech Dudes. Welcome, guys. This is a Halloween themed deck. Now, I didn't want to do something obvious like a zombie tribal, vampire tribal, werewolf tribal, Innistrad block tribal, or what have you. Deck like that. I wanted to go a little deeper into the Halloween themes, so I decided to do a what's yours is mine hand control zombie deck. There's no like actual tribal; it just turned out to be a lot of zombie cards in it. So if you want to try out the deck and add some zombie tribal into it, be my guest. But this deck is all about taking their cards and giving them tough decisions with creepy, spooky Halloween zombies. So we'll start with the candy takers, the trick or treaters first, which are the creatures Brain Maggot and Tide Hollow Sculler. Now these are both 2-drop creatures. One's a 2/2 artifact zombie creature, and the other is a 1/1 insect enchantment creature. But they both have the text. They're both the text is virtually the same on them, and it says when it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand, and you choose a non-land card, exile it, attaching it to the creature, and then when that creature leaves the battlefield, they get the card back. And Tidehold Sculler says the exact same thing. So the ideal turns here is turn 1. You do a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition of Kozilek, and those are both 1-drop black sorceries that you look at their hand and you choose a card. With Thoughtseize, you lose 2 life and you can choose any non-land card. Inquisition of Kozilek, you choose a card with converted mana cost 3 or less, but you don't lose any life. So that's your turn 1. Turn 2, you play either Brain Maggot or Tide Hollow Sculler. You take another card. Then turn 3, you either play Athreos or Liliana, and that makes their decision even harder. Because, okay, so Athreos says he's a 5/4 creature, but if you don't have Devotion to Black and White equal to 7, he is not a creature. He's one of the Theros block gods. He's indestructible, and he says whenever a creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life. So they no longer want to kill your creatures, because then that puts them in a really difficult position. And if they kill the Brain Maggot or the Tide Hollow Sculler to get their card back, then they have to make the choice of whether or not you can get the card back into your hand, which then you can just cast again, or if they're going to pay the 3 life to not let you have it back. So that's why you play that on turn 3 after you've played your Brain Maggot. Hopefully they haven't lightning bolted it yet. This deck is not very it's more about the theme and the flavor more than anything, not necessarily trying to be competitive. It's just a spooky wooky deck. I don't know why I keep saying that. And then Liliana is the other 3-drop that you want to be hitting on turn 3 after you've taken 2 of their cards. Because what Liliana says, and she's a 2/3 with lifelink for 3, and she says whenever another non-token creature dies, you exile, you transform her, and then you also get a 2/2 black zombie. So when you drop both either Athreos or Liliana, they no longer want to kill the Sculler or the Maggot. Or it becomes a much harder decision for them, because either you get a flipped Liliana, or they have to make the 3 life or to your hand decision. So that's the first 3 turns, and then we have a couple other cards in here for win conditions. That would be Deathbringer Liege. This guy's I love this art. I hadn't seen this card before I made this deck, but he gives other white creatures you control +1/+1, and other black creatures you control +1/+1. So Athreos gets +2/+2 when he is a creature. And Tide Hollow Sculler gets +2/+2. So he's pretty cool. He's a 5-drop 3/4, but also whenever you play a white spell, you may tap target creature, and whenever you play a black spell, you may destroy target creature if it's tapped. So if you play a black-white spell like Tide Hollow Sculler, you tap a creature and destroy it. Otherwise, you get one of the other effects. Next, we have Evil Eye of Urborg. Now this card is in here as a win condition, I guess. He's also a cool Halloweeny feeling card. He's a floating eye. I'm surprised that his creature type is not Beholder, because he looks like a Beholder, but eyeballs, spooky things, just trying to stay on flavor here. He's really interesting, a 5-drop 6/3 that says non-eye creatures you control can't attack. So he's the only one who can attack, because there's only one Evil Eye of Urborg. But when Evil Eye of Urborg becomes blocked by a creature, destroy that creature before damage is assigned. So it's like Death Touch 2. If that's dumb. But the cool thing is if you somehow give him trample, all the damage tramples over because there's no creature to block him to absorb any of that damage. So that's pretty cool. I like him. He's mainly here for flavor. Then we have 4 Fulminator Mages. These guys are really, really necessary. This deck is kind of slow, so you want to slow them down with hand control and land destruction as much as you can. Also, Fulminator Mage interacts with Liliana very well, because instead of having to wait for them to kill your creatures, you can just kill your own guy. Play Liliana on turn 3, then play Fulminator on turn 4, and blow up one of their lands and flip Liliana. Then minus Liliana and get your Fulminator Mage back into play. It kills the Liliana, but you get another land off of them. It's crazy, crazy stuff. Her transformed side is not showing here, so I'll just say what it does. She comes in with 3 loyalty. Her +2 is each player discards a card. Her -X is return target creature with converted mana cost X or less, I believe, to the battlefield. And then her ultimate, I don't know what her ultimate is, but I think it's irrelevant. Oh no, you know what her ultimate is whenever a creature dies, bring it back to the battlefield at the beginning of the end step, which is kind of irrelevant if you have Athreos out, but if not, then it can be really, really good. Then we have 2 Sidisi Undead Vizier, just like Jafar, except he wasn't undead. He's a 4/6 Death Touch for 5. Exploit. When you so exploit says when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. So he can sacrifice himself. Not the best option, but interacts really well with Liliana and Athreos. But when you sacrifice, you tutor for any card. You do a Diabolic Tutor when you exploit. So this is the guy that allows you to get your Eye of Urborg or your Deathbringer Liege. Oh, I skipped over this guy. Geth, Lord of the Vault. Now this guy is awesome. This guy is the true candy taker, if you know what I mean. He will take all your candy. He's a 6-drop 5/5 Intimidate. But the main thing you want to use him for is his second ability. You tap X and a black, and you put target artifact or creature card with converted mana cost X from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control tapped. That player then puts the top X cards of his or her library into their graveyard. So, if you have a Liliana flipped, you +2 her to discard him. You've got a +2 her again to get her up to 7. But then the next turn you can bring him back off of Liliana, and then you have all your mana untapped at that point to just do it anyways. Or, you might get to the point where you have 6 lands, and you just play him out. Very, very strong card. Again, ultimate candy. Look at those candy taking hands. Those are the type of hands that would steal candy from even an adult, not just babies. So those are all the creatures, and then these were the sorceries. Our instances are instances. Our Kulligan's Command, because that card is very strong. Also, one of the modes on it says return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So if for whatever reason a creature does go to the graveyard, or if you don't have Athreos out and a creature slips into the graveyard somehow, you can get it back. It also says target player discards a card, and since you choose 2 modes, those are the 2 modes you most likely will be choosing. The other 2 modes are destroy target artifact and Kulligan's Command deals 2 damage to target creature or player, which is also pretty relevant because you can kill your own guy to trigger Liliana, or just kill one of their guys like Pestermite. Last card is Victim of Night. Destroy target non-vampire, non-werewolf, non-zombie creature. I've talked about this card before. It is just a 2-drop kill spell because rarely are people playing vampires, werewolves, or zombies. And this is important because pure hand control is not going to keep them from playing their cards completely. There's not an efficient enough way to keep them off of their cards to keep them from playing creatures. So you need to have some way to deal with those creatures when they do come out. There is a land that I would like to mention. This is there's shock lands, fetch lands, and you can do your lands however, but this land right here is a utility land that I put in here, and it is a legendary land. It adds a colorless to your mana pool, but you can tap 3 to sacrifice a creature, and you gain life equal to the sacrifice creature's toughness. Now, this seems kind of bad, and it is, but it is good interaction with Liliana and Athreos as well. So, it's just a one-of, but it adds just one more way that you can kill one of your own creatures for Liliana, to flip Liliana, because flipping Liliana is really key here. She does a lot of good stuff for you. So this was my spooky Halloween themed deck, and it came out to just under 750, 736 to be exact, 732 to be exact. It's kind of expensive. The Thoughtseizes and the Kulligan's Commands and the Liliana's, Fulminate Mages. There's a lot of expensive cards in here, but it was just more like a more of a flavor themed deck. I wanted to make something for Halloween, and this is what I came up with. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, subscribe for more content. We got some cool content coming up. I gotta say, I don't want to reveal too much, but we got a special guest on our show coming up here, playing a commander game if you're interested in that. And also drop a like because that really helps out. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.